Hi, this is Angie Cherubini again, and we are now into the what I call the elite video of Avada and WordPress. This is how I show you how to get into the inner workings of the design part of Avada, working with your WordPress site. So if you're watching this video, you're obviously a part of our designer series, where we're really getting more in depth with you about how to use Avada and how to make changes on your website without having to call me to do so. You can change the look of it yourself using Avada. So we'll get into the Avada menu now. So go ahead and log in to your website. Okay. Avada, the admin area of Avada, where I go to Appearance. You can get to it also here, but that tells you a little bit more about the product registration and support and all that kind of stuff, and extra plugins that can go with it. But what I'm going to go into is I'm just going to show you how to adjust the theme options in your Avada. I go to Theme Options. And this is basically what you call the dashboard of Avada. And it's got a lot of different things that you can pick through and a lot of different things that you can set the style for ahead of time, versus having to set particular styles in each of the builder elements that you put on each page. You'll notice in your builder elements, you have the opportunity to change the size of fonts, the colors, things like that, but you don't have to. This is where you set the default things for it, like your color and your typography, things like that. So this is a very dynamic part of the website, very fun part, but it can also mess things up. So if you use this, please be careful, because this will change the overall look of the site. So getting into this part of it, you're definitely going to want to do backups if you can. If you're with me on my server, I can do backups for you. It's just usually a good rule of thumb. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to go through each part. You have the layout. Typically, most of the sites I work with, I do a wide layout. This particular site that I'm in right now did use the box layout, which is fine. It's responsive. Both of them work very well. We just wanted to control. We wanted to control the size of things, so we went ahead and went with the boxed. I can do a site width. I can control that, which I did. The padding on the page content. This is the padding on the top of where the content starts and the bottom of the page where the content ends. The right padding, the right side padding, column margins, all kinds of fun stuff. And I'm trying to move this page up a bit. Hold on. Let's see. And it's not giving me the ability to see everything. There we go. There we go. Now I have it. Okay. So the single sidebar layout, on each page, you can control the sidebar width if you have a sidebar, if you're using that in your WordPress. You probably know about this based on the videos that we do of the basic WordPress, where on each individual page, if you're on the main default page style, you can pick whether it is a full page layout, a column, single column, a right and left column, whatever, dual sidebar layout. So you can control the widths there. The menu, you have many different things that you can control. The main menu is typically where I do everything and mess with everything. A secondary top menu, and mobile menu if you want it to be different than what you're using. Usually I use the same menu for both. So I've never really gotten into just the mobile menu part of it. So I go to the main menu. And if you click on that, this is where you can alter the height, the highlight bar size, which is if you want when you're highlighting over a button at the top, if you want to be able to show a color, like a real thin line of color or a thick line of color, that's called the highlight bar. That just lets people know that's the button you're choosing, or that's the tab that you're choosing. On this site, we didn't want that. We didn't want that to show, so we put 0, so no highlight bar will show. Main menu item padding of 1, drop shadow if you want it. The width, main menu drop down width, so that means that's like the sub menu. And the item padding for that. Dividers if you want a divider. And what's cool is you can just turn it on and off. You know, if you want a divider line, turn it on. If you don't want the divider line, you want just a smooth transition, then turn it off. You do that here, and then you would just hit Save Changes, and it would automatically appear on your menu that way. Responsive design, you can turn that on and off. If you are someone that does not want a responsive design on the web, you can choose that. I highly, highly do not suggest that, because more and more these days, websites are needing to be responsive and seen on phones or mobile devices, because it is at least over 60%. And that is a low number of what people use to look at your site first. So you have got to have a website that is easily viewed on a phone. It's just plain and simple. You have to, in my opinion, in my design opinion, you have to have a responsive design. Otherwise, you're not going anywhere with your website into the future. Also, Google is very much so into ranking higher the responsive sites. They want to see sites that are going to work for the people that are researching and searching for things on their browser. So it's a good thing to keep that checked as on. Grid responsive breakpoint. This means that's when your site is going to break with those mobile devices. So if we've got it at 800, which is pretty much the standard for the break, which will cover your iPads. Mobile device zoom, we keep that on. Responsive heading, we keep that on. Everything that is pretty much standard in the responsive tab, we keep on, and we really don't alter it. So you really don't have to alter anything here unless the responsive design is clicked off. You want to make sure you click it on. Colors, you can set a theme skin of being light or dark. So you can do that here. You can do a regular color scheme. And typically what I do is a primary color. I do the primary color based off of my client's logo and the color that they want to go with. The header is the top part of the website. I think if you're into this video, you also should know what the header is of your website, which is the top part. In this particular site, it's this one. And you can choose between any of these just by clicking on them and then hitting the Save Changes. But we're not going to do that right now. You can, the slider position, you can change that where it's above or below the header. And you can change the content in the header if you want. And let's go down further. And it'll show you the different things that you can put in the header content one. You can have social links and navigation, or you can just leave it empty if you don't want to have anything up there. Tagline, you can put the tagline in there. Obviously here I put the hours because they really wanted the hours prominent for anybody who pulled up the website. And they wanted it at the top so when people are on their mobile devices, they see that first. So very important. Let's go up. Let's go to I'm trying to, there we go. Okay. Header content is where we are. Header background image. You can set an image for that particular area if you want to. I typically don't, but you're more than welcome to change that if you want to. Header styling. Styling is going to be your color and the size of the font. So that's where you control that. Sticky header is, I have it on. So what that means, and I don't have it on the tablets and mobiles, but I have it on the regular desktop. So when someone is scrolling down the website, the header is going to scroll with them. So they're able to get back to a different menu item easily. So I happen to really like that. Sticky header is only available for the headers 4 and 5, the styles 4 and 5. So you want to remember that. And you can change the navigation font size of that as well. Now let's go to logo. Of course, this is where you load up the logo for the website. You can control the alignment, which that's a lot of fun. That's cool. Margins for the logo. I wanted mine to appear a little bit differently and overlapping a little bit. So I used some negative numbers to do that. So you can play around with that. You have the default logo and the Retina logo, default logo, which you just follow the directions on what they say. Sticky header logo, which I don't have that up there. I just use the regular logo, but you can have a smaller sticky header logo appear instead if you want. Favicon, just again, go by what they say. What this does, the favicon is obviously that little image that appears on some of the browsers. And then the Apple iPhone icon, I mean, this is basically self-explanatory. I just took the same logo that they had, and I just adjusted the size and loaded it up for this. Page title bar is just that. I hide them. I don't want them on every page. You can adjust sizes and colors. Don't be afraid to play around with it. Breadcrumbs, same thing. Breadcrumbs are actually, if you don't know what they are, breadcrumbs are when you go to a page on the website after you've been on the home page, and at the top it'll say, home, and then you are here or whatever. It's those little words that appear either in the top left or top right hand corner of the content, letting you know where you've been and where you are. So you can control those and the colors and sizes and all that fun stuff. Sliding bar, I don't use a whole lot of. I don't have a lot of websites that have to have that type of feature. The sliding bar is actually just on desktops. And it's a little pop-up that has a little plus sign up in the corner. It's like a little window that you can pop open. And I'll show you. If you click it on, there's all kinds of things that you get to take advantage of. But we're in terms of color and size, number of columns. It's just kind of like another sales area, and it's not one that automatically pops open for you. So, I take that back. You can do that. The sliding bar can open on page load. So, if you have something extra special that you want to post in a certain area that you want people to see, you can use the sliding bar. So it's kind of cool. I'm going to turn it off because the site did not have them on. Footer. The footer is obviously, if you don't know, the bottom part of the website where all that bottom information is found. Usually footer information is information like your address, hours, special links, things like that are down there. But you can control the content, you control the background image, and the styling in this as well. Sidebars. If you're using sidebars in your website, you can control the sidebar styling. For pages, portfolio posts, blog posts, you can do all of that, all of the sidebar changes and styling right there, and it'll be recognized then when you open up. Let's say you have a blog going, it will make that style change for your blog. Background, you can select the background color, which I've done, or you can do a background image. Boxed mode background, you can do the same thing, but you can have, a different background versus the background of the actual box itself. Typography, which this is where a lot of people like to make some changes, and that's fine. The body typography, you can have different fonts, Google fonts. You can change the colors and the font size and line height and letter spacing. So you really have a lot of control over your font. Your headers, you can have control over all your headers here that you use within the site. So all the way down to H6, which is great. You can also select the post title font and line height and extras font size. So you have a lot of control with this. I'm going to go up here, and you also have custom fonts, which you can pull in custom fonts if you want to. I don't ever use this. There's usually enough fonts that I'm working with that my clients love, so I usually don't have to work in the custom fonts section. Short codes, short code styling. Short codes are actually those elements on each page, those builder elements that we're talking about that you can add to the page. Here you can actually set a default styling for them. So like when we were messing with the checklist, I can set a default checklist icon color, circle, and the checklist circle color. So, I don't have to do anything on each individual page, on each individual element if I don't want to. This will be the default of what is added every time. However, the beauty of Avada is on each page, when you add that element, you also have the ability to change the color at that point as well. When you're on the pages and you're changing the colors, that will override the default settings. Fun to work with. Blog, you can change the way your blog actually lists, the look of it. Usually I have this set up for each client and it's fine, but in this one, on this particular website, we use the grid format, which is really kind of cool because they use images. If you're really good at using images, and me personally, I love images on a blog, so I will always use an image as a featured image. And with the grid layout, you're able to do that and able to see an image right away with a little bit of text, and it works great. There's all kinds of different things you can do. You can have a large image, medium, large, alternate. There's a timeline, which is kind of cool. If you have a lot of blog posts, the timeline is pretty neat. So that's something fun to play with. You can also change the look of the single blog post. You can have things appear or not appear. Like, if you have a lot of blogs, postings, related posts is good. They're good. If you don't have a lot, you don't need to use it. It's up to you. If you want people to know about you, you can do the author info box. And that's tied to your user account, the information from there. Now let's go to portfolio. If you're using the portfolio, and the portfolio is actually one of the pages that's already created for you in Avada, and I'll show you that particular thing here towards the end. But it will control the look of the portfolio and the single post of the portfolio. Social media, this is where you can control the different social media that can pop up for you. For this particular For this particular client, they only had Facebook and Google. So those are the two that we have. If you want to add another one, you just click add and it will allow you to, it will give you a list of the different ones that you can pick. Header social icons. If you decide to have the header social icons, you can decide whether you want to have them boxed, the colors, the size, everything is right here. And same thing with the footer social icons and the social sharing box. The social sharing box appears if you choose to after posts and pages on the website, if you choose to have them. Slideshows, I really have not done, quite honestly, much of a slideshow on any of my sites, but you do have that option because it is a part of Avada. You can do a slideshow. So this is where you control that. Elastic slider, you can use that as well. I have used the elastic slider a little bit. I typically use a different slider. The fusion slider or layer slider I use versus this one. Lightbox is just that. It's a lightbox for an image. It controls the actual look of it for you. So any lightbox image that you put on any page, you can control the actual look and behavior of it through here. Contact form. I do not use this contact form actually. I use a more advanced contact form, an advanced plugin that I go to in depth for you in another video, but you do have the ability to use this if you want. Search page, you can decide if you want the search page, if you want to, how you want to show it, whether it's in a grid, whether it's, layering one on top of the other in the page format. So that's up to you. Extra. There's a lot of extra things that you can look at in here. A lot of it may scare you and you have no idea what to do with them. Don't worry about it. Comments, you can turn comments on and off. You can turn featured images on and off. There are a lot of things that you can mess with in here and alter with your website. So just take a look at all of them. They're pretty self-explanatory. Related posts and projects, form styling, all featured image rollover styling. There are a lot of different things that you can play with there. And in the advanced version, if you have, let's say you've got Google Analytics, things like that you would like to add, you can add that tracking code up here. Sometimes if some of you are more advanced that are watching this, there are different scripts and code that you can put in, and this is where you do that in Avada. This is where you can enter that code. Theme features. Dynamic CSS. I leave everything the way it was, the way it was loaded. Custom CSS I use a lot because there are different parts of the website that I want to control on different pages. It's definitely getting way more advanced, and you have to definitely have an understanding of CSS. So I don't suggest doing this unless you truly understand a lot about custom CSS. But I wanted to show you that there are things that you can do to alter some of the standard parts of Avada, and that's what I've done in here. And it overrides some of the things that I have in here. Override some of the things there. Other things like a button that I created and put in there that's different to any other button, I did that. It's just more advanced things that I've learned over the years. But I wanted to be able to show you that that's where you do it. That's where you put it in Avada if you want to override. Import and export is just that. If you want to, I don't suggest doing any of that, but it does have an import and an export feature. If you want to export the data file, you can do that if you want to. So that's pretty much Avada, the dashboard. And what I wanted to show you real quick, we'll go to pages. If we go to pages, I can show you on client education. It doesn't really matter which one. Actually, let's go. We're going to add a new one real quick and I'll show you. Let's say we were going to add a new page. There are actually template. Go ahead and click on Fusion Page Builder. There are pre-built template designs that you can pull in that really are cool. Kind of gives you some ideas of how to do some things. And let's say just an about me. Let's do that. If I click on that, do you want to replace the current page content with the pre-built template? Yes, because it's a brand new page. I don't have anything on there. So I'm going to hit yes. And it's going to populate an example of what I can do. So it's kind of cool. A lot of times I'll then, once I see what something looks like and I like their setup, I'll then delete what was already put there. And I'll go in. I mean, you don't have to do that, but a lot of times I'll delete part of it because I only like part of that page. Or let's say maybe I want to look at the meet the team and it'll replace what was already there with meet the team. So it's actually, it's pretty cool. It puts all the information, all of the little design elements or builder elements in there for you, and all you have to do is replace the things with your information. So sometimes that's kind of fun with a new page. I think that's all you needed to know for this. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to get in touch with me.